If you are over 55 and want the 3 best strengthening exercises you can do at home to boost your strength, mobility, and confidence, well then keep watching.
Hey, it's Mitch and Jack from Be Mobile. We are the physiotherapy experts for adults 55 plus. And from the thousands of clients that we've worked in our programs over the years, we have found that these 3 exercises are the best because they can be adapted for any strength or ability level.
And they are bigger multi-joint exercises, which means you can get just a few of them done and you don't have to spend hours working out.
As physios, we love exercise and know it's the key to unlocking greater levels of health as you age. However, not all exercise is created equal.
No, for example, water aerobics is not going to improve your bone density, whereas doing these 3 strengthening exercises at a challenging level will.
Yeah, and walking, that's great for your heart and your mental health, but it's not going to build the strength you need to make your daily tasks easier.
Okay, well, let's get into the 3 best strengthening exercises for people 55 plus that you can do at home. Alrighty, exercise number 1 is the squat. An exercise you've probably seen us do many, many times on this channel before. This is a good global leg strength exercise, going to be helpful for getting out of the chair, getting out of a low chair, maybe getting up off the floor, improving your leg strength for things like hiking or walking up the stairs. Mate, you can have a rest.
Thank you.
You look like you're getting pretty tired. Now, a couple of technique tips when it comes to the squat is to let your shoulders come forward. So you can see from the side here, Mitch is letting his shoulders come forward because not everyone can squat in that upright position, nor do you need to. The main thing is to be dropping your bottom towards the floor, as you can see here. Another technique tip, Mitch, is to play around with your stance. So maybe Mitch goes shoulder width apart, very broad shoulders. Or he could go a bit wider with his toes turned out, so you can play around with that style. Or maybe you go more narrow with your toes turned out. Play around with the different stances and see what is right for you, I should say. Okay, let's talk about adding weight to the exercise so you can make it more challenging. A backpack is a good way to go at home. You can hold it on the front as you're doing your squats. Or you can put it on your back, like a regular backpack. And that's a great way. You can fill it with books, cans, or other weights. And if you want to add even more weight to that, you could hold other objects. Mitch has got a dumbbell here, and that's a great way to hold like a goblet or a chalice there.
Yep. Man, the backpack is already very heavy, by the way.
Okay, 50 kilos worth of textbooks in there. Excellent. So that's a good way to add weight. If that is too hard for you, maybe the squat isn't right for you at the moment, you can include a chair. Almost everyone has one of these at home to do a sit to stand, or simply a stand from a chair. Now, once again, play around with your stance, shoulder width a bit wider, a bit more narrow. And one technique tip here is to put your nose over your toes. So Mitch is getting his head forward as he stands up. And that's a very good technique tip there. So make sure you either try the squat or the sit to stand and just make sure it's challenging. All right, before we move on to our next game-changing exercise, I want to talk briefly about safety and technique. A lot of people think that certain exercises are dangerous, but it is much more important as to how you prepare the movement over time. So, for example, if you're doing squats and you start off with really, really heavy weights and it's your first time exercising, you might end up with some soreness and pain. However, if you start at a really manageable level and then slowly progress over time, you are much more prepared for the movement. And as we always say, start low, go slow.
Exercise number 2 is not the bicep curls, it's the overhead press, mate. Okay, so the overhead press is a really great exercise for maintaining your ability to lift your arms above your head. We see with the clients we work with, both in the clinic and our online programs, that this is a common movement that becomes difficult over time. So if you want to maintain your ability to be able to reach for higher cupboards, hang out the clothes on the washing line, or even lift your grandkid above your head, then this is the exercise for you.
Great.
Okay, so there's a couple of different tips here. You can play around with the width of your arms. You can see here Jack's got his arms out a bit wider, or you can have them a bit more narrow. The important thing is just find what works for you. Find the starting point that's tolerable and feels manageable. There's no right or wrong. Okay, great. Now, if you don't have dumbbells at home, no problem. Trusty water bottles. Same thing, fill it up with water or sand, depending on how heavy you want. Push it up overhead.
Mitch, cheeky little tip here, a little home hack. What we've done here is we've cut a broomstick in half, and you can actually slide that through the handles, because if you want to put some weight on with the milk bottles over time, you can put 3 or 4 milk bottles each side, and then you're dealing with a little more weight. So there's a nice little technique tip.
You'll be on a barbell before you know it.
Okay.
Okay, great. Now, if you want to make it a little bit easier, some people do struggle getting their arms above their head, maybe because they've got some sensitive shoulders from some arthritis or rotator cuff pathologies. Then you can sit in a chair and you just lean back. And that little bit of lean back makes it a little bit easier from a range of motion point of view. So you can see here that Jack is able to lift his arms up. They're not right above his head, but they're still going vertical. So he's still getting the benefits of the overhead pressing motion.
Yeah, that feels a lot better and a lot more manageable for some people, for sure.
Yeah.
The third exercise is a deadlift, or more simply a pickup. So Mitch is putting his feet either side of the weight and picking it up. Now, as you can imagine, this is a phenomenal movement for improving your capacity to pick things up in your daily life, whether it's picking up your grandchildren, a dog, maybe a pot in the garden, or your shopping bags. And it's really good for improving confidence in your low back. Now, here's a couple of technique tips. Mitch is going to stand either side of the weight, and he's going to keep it nice and close to his body. And all he does is bends over and simply picks it up. Don't focus too much on perfect technique. As Mitch goes back down, he sticks his bottom out and lets his chest come over like he is bowing. There's a nice cue there. Pretend you are doing a bow as you stick your hips back. There you go. Thank you. Now, you can, of course, use a bag for this one. You know, we've got a kettlebell there, but really it can be anything you've got from around the house. So once again, Mitch is sticking his bottom back, letting his chest come over, just like he is doing a bow. Now, you can play around with your stance. Once again, you could go a bit wider if it's more comfortable for you. Or you could go a little bit more narrow. Maybe that's more comfortable for you as well. So make sure you play around with those different technique tips to find what is right for you. But let me tell you, this is one of the best exercises you can do to build resilience and confidence for picking things up, but also confidence in your low back. Now, perform these strength exercises twice per week, aiming for 3 lots of between 8 and 15 repetitions.
And if you want more expert content like this from our team of physiotherapists, then make sure you hit that subscribe button.